Good evening, everybody. My name is Warden, and I will be your host for tonight's entertainment. Today we've got quite a lot on the roster. We will be starting Thaumcraft, alongside maybe getting the beginnings of Botania started. We will also be journeying to the Nether as part of starting Thaumcraft, and hopefully, when these grow, they will be the very beginnings of our journey to remove the taint from this land and make it a much more livable place once again. As you can see, I've finished putting dirt on the top of the island, and if we go over here, we can see that we have grass beginning to crawl its way over to our island, so that'll be great when it starts spreading out and turning all this dirt, which, while lovely, is not what I want, into nice soft grass. Now, I did go and gather the materials required to make another portal. Whether or not this nether portal will be moved later on remains to be seen, but we do have enough materials to set up a gateway to our own personal hell. There we go, and dear God, it's so loud. Alright, platform set up. It's time to head in. Let's hope that we have a good spawn, eh? This might be our first death. Oh, not bad. Doesn't look like anything spawned nearby, so let's bum rush this, eh? Oh, right. Ores explode! Let's pillar up to this glowstone because we're going to be needing it for fun later. AKA night ore. I love night ore so much. Floating light sources in general are just really good, but night ore is really cool, especially in later versions of Thaumcraft where they allow you to color the night ore. Delicious. With our glowstone collected, let's continue to get some resources. Ow, 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 ow. Shit! Ooh, he vanished. Ooh, that's not good. Oh right, it makes the piglins angry. The pigmen. Let's gather up some mushrooms, because this will be useful. If I remember correctly, Agricraft allows a crossbreeding system that allows to get you a variety of plants. Let me check. Yeah, if you use the spores and crossbreeding recipes. Though it looks like these are crossbred to and not crossbred from. So not as useful as I'd like them to be, but we'll still need them for fermented spider eyes if we're ever going to get a hold of zombie villagers to cure. Our trip to the Nether was short and painful, but at the very least we got a hold of some things. Let's sleep. On the plus side, we got a hold of some nether iron, and we also got a hold of a little bit of nether diamonds. But since we have glowstone and a little bit of starting resources, how about we put together our first wand for Thaumcraft? So we will need this and this. We will need this, if I remember correctly. Then you take the iron caps and you put them in each corner, then you put a stick in between, and there you have it! You have a wand. We're also going to need a scanner. I keep forgetting it uses a whole block of glass. Anyways, let's go around and scan things. Now, you can only scan stuff with the aspects that you have already discovered. For example, using the thermometer on dirt allows you to discover Terra. Using the thermometer on a torch allows you to discover Lux. Now, as stuff becomes more and more complex, you will have to search out increasingly more complex items. And in addition to that, not every item is going to be scannable, even if you do get a hold of it, because there's a specific order that you have to scan stuff in. Having to scan stuff in a particular order is definitely one of the weak points of the mod. But ultimately, this is the means that we'll be using to interact with the mod, and even if it's not your favorite thing in the world, we still have to do it this way. Oh, looks like this one got a peer note in it. This one didn't though, so it's free game. Do we have a Thaumcraft? Don't think we do, so we'll have to make one. Now this is how you, if I remember correctly, this is how you make a Thaumcraft. You create bookshelf, place bookshelf, and then you tap bookshelf, and there you go, you have a Thaumcraft, which is again, your primary guide and means of interacting with the mod. Let me see if I have feather. Yes, I do. You want to create files and not glass bottles. Glass bottles will not work for the purposes that you'll need them for in this mod. Get a hold of some ink, and then you'll want to combine the ink, the feather, and the file together to get scribing tools. Then you're going to want to get a hold of the sugarcane that you gathered earlier, hopefully. Make a little bit of paper out of that, because it looks like we're a little limited on resources here. Actually, let's create a very quick little sugarcane farm just so that we are able to cultivate this a little bit more in the future. Alright, sugarcane farm done. So, using our scribing tools, we're going to get a couple of research notes out of the Thaumcraft. So you're going to want scribing tools and paper in your inventory in order to do this. You're going to want to be conservative with just how much stuff you click on right away, just because of resource limitations. Now, there's nothing wrong with clicking on everything that as you see it, but if you're looking for an order of priority, you want to get research expertise and advanced note tapping, just so like you are able to do research easier, and so you are able to tap nodes without killing them. Note tapping is something we'll get into in a minute. You're going to want to get Greatwood Wand Core because that's the immediate upgrade. Night Ore is just a personal thing that I want to get. Magic Tallow is useful for candles. You're also going to want to get Goggles of Revealing and Enchanted Fabric. But because I ran out of paper, we won't be able to do that right away. So for now, let's learn about creating aspects. So one of the most basic aspects you can create is Victus, which is life. And the first time you ever create an aspect, you will always get double. Or triple, I can't remember. You'll get a lot more than it when you make it on repeat attempts. Now, there are a lot of aspects in the game, and you're going to get actually quite a lot of mileage just out of combining the primal aspects over and over and over again. So the valid combinations, I believe, are Aqua and Terra, which make Victus, Perdicio and Ordo, which make Permutatio, Air and Aqua, which make Tempestas, Ordo and Ignis, which make Potentia, Ignis and Perdicio make Gellum, Air and Order make Lux, or is it Air and Fire? Hold on. Okay, yeah, it makes, Air and Fire makes Lux. Order and Air make Motus. Now, once you combined a lot of the valid aspects, you'll see that combining an invalid aspect pair just wastes the aspects, so you want to be careful with experimenting and make sure you have plenty of ink in your inventory. Now this is where things get fun. So what do you think would happen if we combined Victus with Perdicio? Perdicio is entropy, chaos, and destruction. Victus is life. Together they make death. What do you think happens if we combine Motus and Perdicio? Remember, entropy, chaos, and destruction. Motus is motion and animation. It creates Vinculum, which is trapping and imprisonment, and so on and so forth. It's best Now, admittedly, I don't like recommending guides, but when it comes to combining aspects, if you find yourself too frustrated to learn the aspects to sort of logic your way through what aspects would probably exist, then there's plenty of guides out there. I will link the Wikipedia that I use for combining aspects, just so that people who don't want to trial and error their way through this have a chance. I'm going to spend a little bit of time combining aspects and getting stuff together just because I want to have as many of these aspects prepared as possible for scanning purposes. Alright, that's about as many aspects as I could make in a single go. But now we can scan a bit more freely now. Check this out. Yeah. See? Sitting down with your aspects for a little while is very, very, very useful. Oh, it's pure and bright. Okay, so bright nodes are a specific type of node that will recharge much faster than regular nodes. Oh, fuck yes, now we have grass too. But yeah, their nodes have different qualities. Pure nodes will create a magical forest around them, in either a magic forest or just will not allow taint to spread in its area. I can't quite remember. Tainted node does the opposite. It'll create a tainted lands around it in a circle. A sinister node will create an eerie around it and will spawn zombies. I believe furious zombies specifically. And what else? Sinister, Tainted, Pure. There's also Fading, which is a node that will not recharge its aspects once they have been drained. There are Bright nodes, again, that will recharge their aspects twice as quickly. And then, obviously, normal nodes will recharge their aspects at an average rate. And occasionally, scanning stuff is still useful even if you have all its aspects discovered, because you will occasionally get new research. See, this is what a tainted node looks like, and this one's nice and juicy with Perditio. So let's suck that up into our wand. See how as we tapped this node, a black bar on the upper left filled up? That is our aspects. In order to do anything with a wand, you need aspects to be stored within it. Some nodes have compound aspects like this one, but we can still tap it for the fire. We just have to check to make sure that we're not draining it entirely, because doing so can damage its ability to store that aspect. Alright, good. We didn't damage that node. On with our journey. And some things, even though they look like they should have aspects, won't. Many things from Botania will not have aspects because, for whatever reason, the thermometer is not able to read the aspects contained within them. Like, I know for a fact Botania flowers probably have herba and, precontatio, but for whatever reason, the thermometer is not able to read them. Let us slurp these aspects up. You'll want to mark down your nodes as well, just because at some point you're going to be frequenting them pretty often. You can also scan mobs, so that's a little bit more dangerous. But if you can, it can be, they are usually repositories for, at the very least, Bestia. Alright, now we have a full wand. Now, the iron-capped wooden wand will not store a lot of vis, and that is perfectly okay. We don't need a whole lot from it because it's just your basic beginner wand. The real game is when you start breaking into greatwood wands and silverwood wands and wands even beyond that, and things that aren't really technically wands. So that'll be a lot of fun. And let me tell you, iron is not the only thing that you could cap these wands off with. That should be obvious from the Thaumanomicon, but there are all kinds of things that you can cap your wand off with. Let me tell you, when it comes to customizations, the sky is the limit. But I'm gonna spend probably another 14 hours scanning all this, so how about we skip ahead in time while I do this. Alright, after scanning basically every single thing that I own, as you can see, let's go on to the research aspect. Now this is the research minigame. Now what you want to do is you want to connect these aspects, and it's not always going to be 3, sometimes it'll be 2, sometimes it'll be 5, sometimes it'll be a lot more. You're going to want to connect them by using their related aspects. So we know, for example, that Cognitio is made by using fire and spiritus together. Now what is something that Cognitio has in common with Ordo? We know that fire, ignis, is a component in Potentia, and Potentia uses fire and order. So we'll do this to connect them. Now you'll notice that they're not quite connected. That's because the ignis and ignis will not connect to each other. Now what's something that sensus, which is made using air and another aspect I cannot quite remember, have in common? Well, if we put air and fire together, you get lux. As easy as that. Well, I say easy, but it can get a lot more complicated and fucked up than that. I promise you that. There are some convoluted knots that you're going to have to tie in order to be able to properly do this mini game. So practice. You might want to practice in a creative single-player world just to get a feel for how things work. A lot of it is just a test of your memory and ability to put stuff in a straight line. Alright, since my research efforts have now been hindered by a lack of paper, let's go and create our first cauldron. So a cauldron is another one of the essential aspects to interact with the early game Thaumcraft. So in order to use a cauldron, it is as simple as starting a fire beneath it, putting a cauldron on top of it, and then tapping it with your wand to turn it into a fun little crucible. Once you fill your crucible with water, it's ready to use. So one of the most basic things you can make in the crucible is niter, which is made by putting things that have ignis, potentia, and lux into it and then throwing in glowstone as a catalyst. There are many sources of these aspects. In order to create niter, you're going to need 3 of each aspect. You could, of course, use the glowstone itself as a source of lux, but it's not a pure source, as a torch is. Whereas if you look at a glowstone, it has sensus attached to it. You want to use pure sources as much as possible, because if you don't, then what can happen is the crucible will get polluted, and as the leftover aspects begin to break down, what you'll be left with is this nasty goopy soup that will inevitably decay into flux and go into the atmosphere. Basically, that's pretty much how this lovely little tainted lands was created. So let's throw in 3 coal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's as easy as that. As you can see, the level of water in the crucible is very slowly going down as it's used. This is a normal process. You will eventually have to refill your crucible with water in order to continue. The primary use of the cauldron in the early game will be getting thaumium, which is this mod's primary metal. You'll be using thaumium in a lot of stuff from Thaumcraft, so you're going to want to make plenty of it. Occasionally, in order to get the stuff you want done, you're going to have to pick up the scribing tools from your research table once in a while. That is to do things such as get the ethereal bloom, to get essentia distillation, which is where you start getting into the more mid-game advanced Thaumcraft stuff. Like, you'll be using essentia distillation long into the rest of the mod. Now, the reason I picked up ethereal bloom instead of anything else that might be somewhat more powerful is because ethereal blooms are, aside from silverwoods, the other way to clean up a fuckload of taint at once. And there we have it. We have ethereal blooms. Now, granted, ethereal blooms only have a radius of 8 blocks, so about a chunk. So we're going to need a hell of a lot more than a single one, and they're not cheap. They're not cheap. One of the only sources of Sano you have right now is milk. And as you see, no cows. No cows. So ethereal blooms are going to be happening a little bit later. On and away from Thaumcraft, now that we're thoroughly impeded by a lack of paper and resources, let's go on to beginning Botania. One of the first things you want to create in Botania is the petal apothecary. So you're going to want to create a short T shape, little basin, and then put the flower in the middle. Much like the Thaumcraft crucible, you're going to be needing a source of water for the petal apothecary. However, unlike the crucible, the water will be used up every time for each of the operations, so you'll have to more frequently refill the water. Similar to Thaumcraft, Botania also has its very own guidebook. So we will create that by taking a sapling and sticking it onto this book, and you get the Lexica Botania. First things first, you want to hit basics and mechanics, and one of the first things you want to do is create a pure daisy. It is the most important flower in the early game of Botania. It will turn wood into living wood and stone into living rock, which are like one of the most major crafting components. Now, how to create a pure daisy is you rip up one of the Botania flowers, and you want to do the following. So, you want to press Q for each of the petals, and then once you have the required amount of petals, you toss in some seeds, and you get your flower. Refill. 2, 3, 4. Repeat. Once you have your pure daisies, you're going to want to take that. You're going to want to take your source of wood. Hopefully Twilight Oak is compatible. If not, I'll pop off screen and get enough wood for this operation. You're going to want to place your daisies with enough room around them to put a square of 8, and you're going to want to set down your blocks in a rough circle around them, and then all there is to it is waiting. Once they have turned into living rock and living wood respectively, you can mine them up and place down fresh stone and wood for it to transform. I am going to repeat this cycle a couple of times until I have a stack of the aforementioned material. So catch you on the flip side. Okie dokie, we now have enough living wood and living rock to get by for the time being. So, one of the earliest things you could do with Botania is put together some mana pools. One of the earliest flowers you can make to generate mana are dayblooms, which will put mana in your mana pool through the simple process of just being outside. They need access to the sunlight to function, but that's about it. And then seed. Now, with our flower created, we're going to have to create a mana spreader, which is the primary means we'll be moving mana from one place to another. We only need one for now because of the incredibly tiny scale. So what you want to do is shift-click the spreader and shift-click the mana pool. That will allow you to link the mana spreader to the pool. Then you just want to place a flower nearby and it will automatically connect. And now all we have to do is wait. Back to Thaumcraft while we wait on the daybloom. You're going to want to get Goggles of Revealing. It's just primarily for the sake of convenience. But what a convenience it is, because it allows you to have the effects of the thermometer without having the thermometer in your hand. You'll still need the thermometer to scan, but you can see notes and their aspects without the thermometer in your hand. See this research with the purple clouds behind it? This is stuff that will give you warp if you fully research it. Now obviously, I don't give a flying fuck about the morality of a situation as long as it helps me along with my goals in life, so I will be taking this research, and I will say you will not be able to progress very far in Thaumcraft if you avoid everything that gives you warp. So don't be afraid to pick and choose the horrific eldritch knowledge that you're willing to expose yourself to. It has a lot of rewards in the end, and seeking infinite power is part of the point of Thaumcraft, in my opinion. Yes, Liquid Death. I'm good friends with Liquid Death. Yes, very good. Delicious. Alright, after doing a bunch of Thaumcraft research, let's check on the mana pool. Let's see. And now we have a full-size mana pool. Very, very good. Want to change this to focusing on the regular mana pool. And for those of you wondering if I wasted any mana by breaking the mana pool, you do waste mana, but it's not a lot of mana in the diluted stuff. I promise. It is 100% not a lot of mana. Let us make a couple more day blooms. I know I only said you need a couple, and that is true. Like, you can actually get by with just one, but it's good to have more than one. Just for, so you don't have to wait 2 million years for enough mana to happen. Plus, day blooms as passive generating flora, they do expire after a period of time. They will wither out and die. Another thing about day blooms that you want to do is you want to space them apart a little bit. You don't want any one day bloom to be directly next to another day bloom, just so that they have enough room to spread out their leaves and generate mana. You can right-click with the Wand of the Forest on a mana pool or a mana spreader just to double-check the levels of mana that are available. Now, about that backpack I mentioned. Alright. Interesting, if a little expensive. Let's see if we can't put this stuff together. Okay, Adventurer's backpack. Let's put this together. Now, if I remember right, Yeah, there we go. So you place it down and you shift and you crouch while breaking it to put it on. Nice! Oh, this must be a little crafting table. Oh, and you can fill it with water. Pog! Nice, so we have a backpack now. That means I could travel for more than a quarter of a second. You know, I wonder, with all these different backpacks, I wonder if there's any that, do anything special. Like, Wither backpack, like, that's an expensive backpack, right? Like, what would be the point of it if not to do something? So let's have a poke around. Cast backpack, gray backpack, piggy backpack. I did a bit of research, and I think the backpack I'm going to go with is the piggy backpack because I find its ability really cute. I don't really plan to be struck by lightning anytime soon, but, I mean, a backpack that oinks, now that I could get behind. Let's go swine hunting, eh? Aw. Let's make ourselves piggy backpack. Oh, you're a cute little guy. Yes. So the special ability of this boy is it will occasionally oink, and you will never feel alone again. That's it. He just oinks and says hello, which I think is just the funniest little thing. There he goes. You know, this silverwood tree could use a little bit of a cleanup. As nice as it is to have around, its root system is definitely not looking too amazing, so let's see if we can't decorate this and customize it a little bit. Well, it's not gorgeous, but it works. There we go. Yes, there we go. That doesn't look too bad. Yeah. Sort of have this route that comes up and around the workspace. That looks alright. Yeah, that looks good. So with that, I think I'm going to call it here. So, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, why not like, subscribe, show it to your friends, leave a comment if you like, and next time I think we will make more progress on the respective mods, maybe start witchery a little bit, continue our nether exploration, see if we can't find a fortress. Until then, my name has been Warden, and I have been your host for tonight. Have a good night, everybody.